So, we did an opening moment of silence in honor of Tyree Nichols and took a moment there. But I just want to say something else. I think it's incumbent upon each one of us to bring this to the forefront of the conversation about spirituality and religion. Has anyone noticed that there are a lot of religions that have a lot of fear around or anger around or don't go near that, around the idea of individualizing and taking on the Christ? Or it could be called the enlightened one, the awakened one, whatever you want to call it. But anytime that there is a teaching about God within you, there is a fear or an anger or an attack. Yeah? Have you noticed that? It's like, even there are religions where they don't want you to go to yoga because you're getting too quiet, and there is talk about namaste, the divine in me beholds the divine in you, the God in me greets the God in you. So that idea that God is in you, not limited to just you, but God is in you, through you, as you, and more than you, is a concept that in a lot of religions is not okay. I think we're going to need to find ways to gently invite people into transforming that concept, because we cannot keep going forward into the future with people having an idea that God is just outside of them and it's not incumbent upon them to bring God through them, right? To bring God in them, as them, through them. So we have to break down that paradigm before people are going to give themselves permission to say, I have to show up as the hands of light, as the hands of God, right? Jimi Hendrix has that line that says, the world will not know peace until the love of power, let me read it. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. When the power of love overcomes the love of power. Just think about that for a moment. As we walk into our world, as we interact, as we do things, when the love of power, like really, we know what the power of love does. And we know what the love of power does, and we know what it is. But see everybody walking into situations and circumstances and encounters with the power of love, being more in love with love than anything else. Saying, love, guide me, love, be me in this moment. That is what the Christ embodied is. That is what our teachings are. And I truly believe that at the heart of every world religion, it's in there. It's in there. So let's help the world wake up to the truth that God is not outside of you. You're here to bring it. Amen? Okay. So, we've been working with intention and creation and awareness and alignment, being intentional. I have a little one, many of you know, she's 4 now, and she has been getting quite frisky, and I expected this because I'm her mother. I expected some of that might pass down genetically, but it's a little earlier than I thought for some of it. And some of the words that she's coming up with, some of the things that she's saying, I'm like, that's like a 13-year-old thing to be going through and saying, that's not like 4, what is this? And she has, limited screen time and stuff like that. And I'm pretty clear. I've found, I think, 3 movies that I feel like I can handle for her to watch. I even watched Pinocchio. Has anyone, not to be going and bashing films, but has anyone watched the new Pinocchio? Well, that's not so much for little kids anymore, I think. That's what I felt like. I was watching it with another mother and her 4-year-old, and we both kept looking at each other like, at what point do we just jump this ship and find Peppa the Pig or something like that? When do we press stop? Because we've already heard some choice words we don't want repeated, right? And some other things, and it's going, oh. But I found a few that I thought, okay, Encanto, that's about gifts, your spiritual gifts. and bringing them forward. There's another one called Luck, which is a Scottish-Irish one, and it's got some real positive things in there. Some little scary parts, but it's also about the bad people, the darkness. That's not bad. It's just the actions. Let's bring it all together. So the themes in films are starting to change, but nonetheless, she's even seen enough, right? And I thought, where is she getting this? But when I ask her, when she says funky little things, and I say, where did you hear that? Because I know she heard it somewhere. She says, I just knew it. I just knew it in myself. And I'm going, okay, I'll take that, but I'm listening. I'm observing. And if any of you know this, I got COVID back in December, and so I had a couple of weeks where it was interesting, and we had a lot of screen time. We had a lot of movies. I think we had like a movie in the morning and a movie at night, right? And so we kept weaning ourselves off of that. So anyway, this last time, she was getting feisty with me. She didn't want to brush her hair, and she goes, Mom, you're ruining my life. And I'm just like, that is such a 13 concept. I'm like, interesting. Okay. And then I just said, I think you might be hearing some of these things from the iPad. And the consequence will be, if you repeat them and say that out loud, there will not be the iPad. You will have a day without the iPad, right? So you can hear those, but no evidence, and she's still telling me, I just know it. And she said a couple other things that were fun. Won't repeat them right now because we don't want to repeat them. But she said it. And then, I don't know, it wasn't probably the same day, but another night, we were having relaxed time. And so I was on my computer, and she was on her iPad, and I'm listening. And this PBS show that she's watching has a lot of learning in it. It's very educational, and I can hear great things like, focus on the positive and da-da-da-da-da. And then I hear, you're ruining my life. And I said, stop, pause that. She doesn't like to pause it because she thinks you're going to take it away, and that gets, pause it. And I looked at her and I said, what did she just say? And she just looked at me and she goes, and I said, I repeated it. I said what she said. And I said, here's the deal. You can watch that, but it's just for watching. You cannot repeat it. Understood? And she said, okay. And so she pressed play and went along. And then I hear, that's disgusting. Pause. What did he just say? And we talked about it. And then I said, you can hear that, but it's not appropriate to go saying that. So press play, and she goes on to the next one. And then I hear a couple other things, but essentially the nutshell was every single thing that she said is in something, right? There was one that I still haven't uncovered yet, but for the most part, every single thing that she said was in there. And so I said, that's the agreement. Like, if I hear you say that, because you've got to get a consequence that's real world and right there. And I just literally, she says some of this stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, you can't have an M&M? Like, I don't, where is that? And so now I know, right? So now I can be like, if she says that, you don't have a video today. You don't have whatever. You lost it for a week. I'm going on a month. No, just kidding. But the next time as she's listening, the next one I hear, it's like some unity thing, right? The girl says, well, they're having some problem, and then this little girl in the thing says, well, I could be upset, but I'm going to just choose to focus on the good. Focus on the parts that are working, or what makes me feel good, or what happened. And I said, stop, pause it. And she's thinking again, and I'm going to, maybe take it away or whatever. She's going like this. And I said, now that one is a smart one. That one we need to repeat 3 times. So here's our plan. When you hear those things, when you hear them, I need to hear you say, not going to say that out loud. And then when you hear these things, I want to hear it 3 times. I'm going to look for the good. I'm going to look for the good. I'm going to look for the good. So I think I'm nurturing her to be one of those people, one of those women in the movie theater that talks way too much. When she gets older, she's going to be in there and just making comments back and forth, back and forth. So many things that we hear, repeat, say, think, feel are unconscious. Their sources are unconscious. Our interactions with them are unconscious. We allow ourselves just to receive, digest, and metabolize whatever comes to us, whatever is out there, without saying stop, pause, negate it, or repeat it. This is the practice. This is the practice of mental science. This is the practice that our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, realized was essential and critical to a spiritual life, to spiritual well-being, to, in fact, co-creating with God. And this was at a time when psychology wasn't around. Positive psychology wasn't there. A lot of the practices that are so commonplace. I mean, even my tea is telling me how to be positive, right? Who gets those little messages on the little tea thing? Your little, what do you call that little thing? The what? Your little tea paper? That's not what it's called. But it's a little note. And it tells you beautiful things. I go to my yoga studio, and there are Postit notes on the lockers that say beautiful things. But we tend to forget in the human condition that we are part of our meaning-making in our creation system. And we just let whatever come in, and just let it come out. Now, if you're a 4-year-old and you have a mother, someone checks it at the door. But when we're adults, no one checks it at the door oftentimes. And we forget that it was put in there and that we don't have to operate by it. We tend to just think this is life, this is what it's doing, this is what's happening to me, and we forget. So it's important to stop, to put it on pause, and to think about what we're doing and how we're spending our time and our energy. Now, in my yoga class this week, one of the teachers, I love how yoga's like church, but one of the teachers gave that example that we all know about how we invest our time, and she talked about marbles in jars, and how are you spending your time, and just being really mindful about how we spend our time. So think about your time. Think about the energy of how you use your time, and all of your time for a day or a week. How much is spent watching videos? How much is spent praying and meditating? How much is spent complaining? Anyone else? Watching the news, that kind of goes along with this one. How much is spent getting on the floor with your child or your grandchild and looking eye to eye and spending time without a device in your hand and without someone else vying for your attention? How much time is spent shopping and spending money? How much time is spent on your vices? The vices that you declare to be your vices, those things that are not the healthiest for you, that you would like to choose other things or you would like to minimize, whether they're mental, whether they're physical, whether they're emotional, whatever they are, but your vices that you know, I'm checked out. And this isn't just self-care check out. This is like, I need some support, or I could bring it up a notch or tone it down a bit. How much time is spent reading and learning? How much time is spent at Sunday services or online? How much time is spent in service to others? Answering a phone call, doing something important or good in the world, paying it forward, hopping on the UVC app and the prayer wall and clicking commit, I'm praying with you. We'll put that in both here and here. Think about it for a moment. How do you spend your time? Just breathe into that. Scrolling through social media, the amount of time scrolling, the amount of time with games, the amount of time taking a photo or a video instead of a breath, and breathing in and imprinting a moment. Procrastinating. And then take a look at where they all are. Our M&Ms, our moments and meaning. Are they how we want them to be? Or do we need to assess it? Do we need to stop, pause, and look at it again and just say, like, you know what, that does not align with my values. So, like, I'm going to take 5 of these, and I'm going to put them here. I'm going to take, I can't remember my jars. That's really a problem. That's about awareness. We'll hope this one was a positive jar. I'm going to take reading, learning, spending time. Where was that one that was on the floor with the kids? Or looking to the eyes of my partner or my family member, or making a call or sending a letter, connecting with someone that you really want to connect with heart to heart, but you put it on a list of going tomorrow. I'm just going to send them a text. Just write them a letter. Just stop and hold their hands and look into their eyes and say, how you mean a lot to me. Intentions. It matters, right? And then how do we use our minds? Think about how you would fill those jars. How do you use your mind? Do you use it for creating? How many M&Ms, moments and meaning, would you put into the jars for your creative energy, creating, writing? How much for action, actually taking the thoughts in your mind and putting them into action? How many marbles do you put in the pray and meditate jar? How many in the judgment jar? How many in the anger, aggression jar? How many in the cycling jar? In the work for the Landmark Forum, they call that your racket. Your racket is like this thing that happens over and over, and I just keep going back to it. It's like a system in my mind. How many investment pieces does that get, your racket? What about recycling? What about something happened? You guys are going to like this one. Something happened. I'm cycling about it. And then I'm going to just grab Judy over here, and I'm going to be like, Judy, listen to what happened. Da, 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 da. Dennis, can I just have your ear for a second? Listen to what happened. Jenny? Yes, Jenny, it's you. Yes, in California right now. Could you just listen to this story again? I know you don't know that I told it to anyone else, but I'm going to tell it to you again right now. Oh, wait, what? You told me. You know I've told that story to other people, and that you're ready not to listen to it unless I'm ready to do something about it. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. Could I hear? I just need, can you give me your ear for a second? Okay. Ann? Steve? Yeah. Okay. How many times do you recycle a story? Carol? Kelly? Before you ask yourself, when you're telling it, what's my purpose in telling it? Now, in unity especially, we're in a practice and a spiritual community and a system of thought where we know how important it is to be heard and to be listened to, right? But even that recycling can be cycling if we're not intentional. And how do we get intentional about it? How do we get so we're not just either oozing our energy, using our energy, enabling, just drawing someone else into our story, just repeating a story, right? Repeating it like those little things in the video, and no one's pressing stop. You're just taking it and saying it, taking it and saying it. Because what happens when we do that, right? We're planting seeds, we're planting seeds, we're planting seeds. I have a friend, a minister friend, and it was always awful when he did it. But if you were having a conversation that was not high and holy, and you were saying stuff, you were using your I am, he would take your hand, and you were like, what are you doing? And he'd take your hand and shake it, and he said, let's make an agreement about that. And you're like, no. So unless you want someone to grab your hand, because that's what's happening when you're recycling our stories, right? Unless you want someone to grab your hand and say, let's make that real. Let's make a deal on that. Let's solidify that. Let's magnify and multiply that times 100. Let's put that one down in the books. Let's make sure it happens next year, and the next relationship, and the next job, and the next house, and the next day. So what does it look like if we shift? What does it look like if we become mindful and aware? It looks like this. I have a story, I have something that happened, I could feel it in me, is it mine? I'm going into presence, is it mine to reach out and share the story so I can have a witness, so I can process it? Yes, I'm an external processor, I know that about myself. Okay, Benita, would you witness this story for me? Would you just be present for me? I don't need you to say anything or do anything, and I don't need you to believe it, and I don't need you to demonize the people I'm talking about or the situation or the circumstance. I don't need you to think that that's how it's going to always be, but I just need to be heard, or I need to be held, or I need whatever it is, and I'm aware of that. Would you be willing to do that? And if she's really aware and willing, I'll probably have that meeting, and I'll probably be complete. And if not, I'll say, Linda, Aisha, would you sit in a circle with me to listen? Now, if I know that I have a different style or I'm at a different place with my story and I am feeling the recycle of something and I'm getting ready to share it with someone, I could say, Mark, I need to share something with you. And what I'm looking at is, what could I do differently? What I'm looking at is action. What on earth am I doing that is contributing to this, or what could I do about this so that I experience it differently? Can you hear me on that one? But I go into it more consciously, aware of, even if I don't say it out loud, fully aware, I am telling this story either to myself or someone else. I am telling it because I need to be witnessed. I'm telling it because I need just to be heard. I am telling it because I need solutions. I am telling it because I want self-awareness and I want to change my actions or my life. But this is why. I'm not just telling it so that I can have, through the illusion of that energetic exchange, the idea that there is movement happening. The idea that I've done something because I told 20 people the same story. Investing our time, investing our energy, investing the moment. Be clear on where you want to put it and what it goes to. We're using the mental moment to be in some sort of energy. Are we aware of how we allocate it? Does anyone else get the statement at the end of the year for your credit card that gives you the pie chart? They didn't always have the pie chart. That was probably somewhere in some legislation, someone's like, you know what, let's give them a pie chart if we want people to not be so crazy with credit cards. So what do you get? You get your spending, your entire year spending, and then you get the pie chart. And it tells you how much you've spent on travel, how much you've spent on food, how much you've spent on stuff, how much you've spent, whatever it is, eating out, whatever it is. And you can see this is what you've done with all of your income that you've spent through the credit card. Now, if they could do that for everything that came in and went out to savings, that would be great. I love talking about the great they that does things for us. But who looks at that and goes, whoa, check, stop, pause, let me look at my investment. This I want to repeat. This I want to see, but not do it again. Becoming intentional. So often, when we look at launching our visions, co-creating, when we look at demonstrating what we want to have in our lives or just looking at our lives, we have blind spots. And the blind spots often come because we don't notice these things. We don't pay attention. We don't notice that we're doing a habit or a pattern 7 days a week, and it does this to the body, this to the mind, this to the time, this to our attention, this to our pocketbook, whatever it is, And then we just think, how did I end up here? I can't really change it. There is so much power to change it when we look at our investments. So let's start the practice. You could think of a microcosm of this practice, because it can be overwhelming to think of your whole life as a practice. But think about your experiences on the road, driving your vehicle. Now, I am one that really loathes those little analogies where they put, you're at a stoplight and this happens, so this, and like it's some big meaningful moment, and in a writing it'll be like it's some big impactful thing, and you're like, what, people are dying. I don't need to hear about a wink at a stoplight. But it can be a good microcosm for a practice. When you're out on the road, would you take on the invitation to consider that time on the road as a practice, as your practice? If you would consider it, just give a little of your hand. Just consider it, take it on, and post. If you're in the Zoom room, post it in there. I'll try it, or on Facebook or on YouTube. Post it on there if you'll try to take on the road as the practice. You will learn things about your life if you take on this invitation. You'll learn this practice, but in a way that it's just sharper. It's just more acute when you take the driving. So if you use the road for a platform for the practice, and you think about your jars, and you think about the investment of your time and your energy, what can you do? How does driving look for you? How do you feel when you get into your car? What's your practice? How do you feel when you're driving? How do you feel when you arrive? Do you feel hurried? Do you spend your time rushing? Do you spend your time relaxing? Is it a time where you just go, wow, we've invented vehicles? Like, as I was rolling to work this morning, I was feeling like there should be something more to work, to Sunday. There's even those things. You pay attention to everything. I was thinking I should be like exerting more effort here, because I really just feel like all I have to do is have a little hand right here and my foot around there, and then I just glide to work. What incredible beings we are. Like, someone wanted to be able to touch and reach out to more people faster, to do more things. So they created this, and here I am going fast, but there's nothing else I need to do. So I just almost like a meditation, right? Just, I'm at peace. My little one had a little phase where she at stoplights was like, this is taking so long. And I said, well, it's a good time to meditate. It's a good opportunity to pay attention to your breath. There's so much to do. It's not a waste of time. How do you see it? Is it a time to bless the people in the cars next to you? Or is it a time to get all of your rage out, to just start spitting negativity and going, how ridiculous are they that they would, what are you doing? Is the universe your friend when you're out on the road? Or is it your enemy? Do you treat everyone in the other vehicles as if they could be someone that's sitting next to you here? As if they could recognize you in your professional or your personal life? As if it could be your mother, your brother, your grandfather? As if they might be on their way somewhere, or they might be in pain? I was pulling up to a grocery store the other day, and I had a girlfriend in town. We both had our little ones, and I was in the back trying to get her in the car seat, and that can be a little frustrating. You got all this stuff in winter clothes, so I had my booty quite far out of the car, and I'm doing this, and the door's open, and someone tries to pull into this spot next to me, and there's not a lot of room, and so they pull in, they just start inching towards, and I had the space for it, but I'm thinking, like 2 seconds left and I got this clip, because I either have to step aside, go back in and then come back out, and I'm like, 2 seconds and I got this. And I have the sense that I might have had a slight scowl on my face when I took my face away from my child and went like, and as I looked over, I might not have, I'll have to check, because I didn't quite check in that moment, but I looked around, and then they kept coming a little closer. That's what the scowl was, because they just kept coming a little closer, like, hurry, like that. And I was just like, really? Can you, 2 seconds? And then through my little bit of a scowl, I look deeper. It's one of my great friends that I haven't seen in quite some time. Erin, Erin. I didn't think you knew it was me trying to hit your butt while you're getting your daughter in your car at the grocery store. And I just wiped that off my face, and of course was delighted to see her and just laughing, thinking, I wonder if what I felt inside was on my face. I wonder if what I felt inside was on my face. I think it might not have been, and if it was very quick and light before. Do you take the road as a practice? How many times can we hear something in our own mind and just witness it, just presence it, but do nothing about it? Don't express it. Don't repeat it. Just presence it and let it move on. How many times can we look at the good stuff and repeat it, presence it, let it move on? Wayne Dyer says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. So whether you want to use the road or whether you want to use one particular relationship or your job, whatever it is, fill in the blank with whatever might challenge you and look at what's calling you or inviting you to look at the investments of your energy and what you're putting in. And take a moment to practice. Notice what's going on. That's the first step. Attention. Give it your attention and look at where your attention's going. And then make adjustments before you repeat. Make adjustments. So what we're doing is noticing the subtle feelings, noticing the drawing of attention. Giving our attention, being clear and being careful, not careful like scared, but full of care. Remember, your mind is the garden, your thoughts are the seeds, and the harvest will bring flowers or weeds. And make adjustments. Make subtle adjustments. There's a saying, to watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become deeds. Watch your deeds, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Character is everything. Namaste. So let's take a moment to breathe in, to fully allow ourselves this time in meditation, to look at our investments, to be aware of how we're investing our time, our energy, our emotion. Where is it that we might want to rearrange, make adjustments? Where is it that we may be more intentional? Can I open myself up so much that I am listening, noticing? Inhaling and exhaling into full compassion. I become aware of my energy and my time. I become aware of my investments. I acknowledge the time when I am cycling and recycling, and I'm committed to being more aware, to having my needs met mindfully. Here I am. willing and open. Knowing that what I invest in grows, where my attention goes, life grows. So little by little, I make adjustments as I become aware. Sweet Spirit in me, through me, as me. Be the eyes that see, the ears that hear, the heart that feels. Quicken within me the power of awareness. By the power of this practice, may all beings have freedom from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings know they are born blessed and here to be a blessing. May all beings know God as love and emanations of that love as the source of who we are. We dedicate this service and this time, this practice, to Tyree, his mother, victims of violence in our communities, in our world. As we take on the practice, may it be of benefit to all. May all beings awaken to the truth of the light within. Namaste.